Would you all please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Burns?
Here.
Mr. Adriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Griffin?
Here. Without objection, I would ask the clerk to file reports as read. Can I get a motion on the supervisor's report for February, please?
Make a motion to accept the supervisor's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes. Can I get a motion on the minutes, please?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the bid opening, highway materials, March 18th. Bid opening, Putnam Lake Park District lawn maintenance, April 6th. Town board meeting minutes on February 25th, and the town board meeting minutes, March 11th. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Order to the bills, please.
I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 6 dated March 27, 2015 in the sum of $237,309.86. So moved. Second.
Okay, I got a roll call, please.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. Adriano?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes. Mr. D'Andriano.
Okay, first item on my agenda is the Putnam Lake Seasonal Lawn Maintenance Award Bid. I have a resolution to award 845 Services Incorporated, who has submitted the lowest bid for the Putnam Lake Park District for landscaping and lawn maintenance for the season, for $2,700. So moved.
Just to know it's Memorial Ball Field.
I'm sorry, the Memorial Ball Field. So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
next item on my agenda is the Homeland Security and Emergency Services IMAP program. Okay, this is the Intrastate Mutual Aid Program. It's a resource sharing mechanism created in 29H of the New York State Executive Law that allows local governments to share resources during a declared state of emergency. The major benefit of the program is that it allows for mutual aid during a locally declared disaster without the need to enter into individual intergovernmental agreements or memoranda of understanding. Not only does the statute authorize you to share resources with other local governments, it also provides for reimbursement and specifies which local government is responsible for liability and workers' compensation coverage when personnel are shared through this program. This is an opt-out program, so if we don't want to participate, we can opt out. It just takes a resolution to opt out. If we want to stay in it, we don't have to do anything. We're automatically in it since we're a local government. The good thing is if someone does request services from us, we do not have to send them. We're not obligated to provide services or manpower or equipment. And we can still stay in the program if we decide not to provide anything. So there's a lot of logistical stuff. I think it's a good, I don't see why we wouldn't. I think the only thing is I think we have to look into, council has to look into, there's a section here, participating local governments will need to determine what legislative or governing body approval, if anything, will be necessary in order to fully participate. So I don't know if,
That's this board.
okay. So I don't know if I don't think we have to, if we have anything in our,
Yeah, Pete's
Our
gonna do
protocols?
first two things on Charles. I'm gonna do the second thing.
Sorry.
do we have anything that we would have to do anything for this, or?
No,
Okay.
I went through it, unless we were gonna choose to opt out, we don't have to do anything. And this governs, the one thing I wasn't 100% sure of is whether this just covers the town, or is it in addition to, for instance, we have 2 fire protection districts. Each of the departments in those districts are subject to a mutual aid agreement with various other municipalities to all coordinate and respond.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was covered under this. I just couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
it doesn't affect any other mutual aid agreements or
Okay,
MOAs
just-
that we have in place. Those
Okay.
still stand. So
Okay, great.
This is just something on top of that.
Okay.
If, there's a major flood upstate and they're looking for resources that we might have.
Right.
They might request it from us or vice versa. And also, we can, if we're part of this, it's also NIMS compliant and ICS compliant, so we can get federal reimbursement, if we do request or we do use equipment or manpower. Great. We do also have to name a point of contact to go on, and there's a website here to provide some information, I think just some resourcing, what we have to offer if needed, and who's the point of contact. And if we need to request something that's out of the county, we have to go through our county EOC, which contacts the state regional emergency person. So,
Just to be clear, though, a request for assets wouldn't come directly to town. Wouldn't it come through the county
Yep.
emergency services anyway?
yeah.
Okay.
Even if
So it'd
it's
be a
town,
coordinated-
even if it's town to town within the county,
Okay.
it needs to be coordinated through the county EOC.
Great. Just wanted to ensure that.
I'm also going to take the first two items on Charlie's agenda. Request from the Golden Age seniors to go on a trip. For the total expenses, including the coach tours and tickets, is $2,230. To be collecting $30 for 35 tickets, which is $1,050. So I'm requesting to approve $1,180 for this trip for the Golden Age seniors. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
My next item is the Women of Distinction nomination. We brought this up, I think, the last meeting or so. We did, Charlie wrote up a nice, we picked somebody, Charlie wrote up a nice letter to Senator Murphy for the 2015 Women of Distinction nomination, and we are nominating Dr. Marilyn Terranova. So he goes on and on. She has all kinds of awards and achievements and accolades. Probably too many to read tonight, but I think she's an excellent pick. I think we couldn't have picked a better person to represent Patterson in this program. So that's all I have for now.
All right, the government efficiency plan, I'm gonna take that one. We have a letter from the Association of Towns. Basically, what the government efficiency plan refers to is it's part of the conditions of the 2% tax cap that we're all currently operating under. In the first year of the program, homeowners are eligible to receive a property tax credit as long as their local government certifies that it stayed within the property tax cap, which we did and all the schools did. So if you haven't gotten a check yet, call the state, they'll tell you where it is. However, in order for homeowners to receive the credit in the second year of the program, local governments must not only stay inside the tax cap, but must also develop or participate in the development of a state-approved government efficiency plan by June 15, 2015. The government efficiency plan must feature shared services, cooperation agreements, mergers, and/or efficiencies that, when implemented, will achieve the mandated savings targets in 2017, 18, and 19. That mandated target is 1% of the total amount we taxed in the town. So for us, it'll be somewhere on the order of about $50,000.
We have to demonstrate a savings of 50,000?
Yes, we have to either merge something, we have to modify something, we have to streamline something, we have to come up with a plan to reduce expenses by that, or we will not meet the second portion of the 2%, the tax cap condition for residents to get money from the state. So that is going to be a bit of a nut to crack. However, Association of Towns has suggested that since we did join NYMER, that may be an opportunity for some consideration. We did manage to save probably about half of what we would have needed by switching to NYMER insurance. So we're still going to be looking for more. Mr. Williams?
Rich Williams, town planner. So what we did is we created the Eastern Hudson Watershed Corporation based on a study. We know exactly what. Based on a study we did, we know exactly what it would have cost us for meeting the MS4 requirements for installing stormwater retrofits. We are currently crunching the numbers to see what our efficiencies are, but we expect that that organization will cover most of our required efficiency reductions.
What year did
And that's
that,
what we're working on right now.
What year was that implemented? Because it says if anything implemented before 2012. is not-
That's true. So we can't take credit for anything we did before 2012, but it's a
Going forward.
multi-year program. So we're anticipating that we can submit something that will, from 2012 on, will show that the town has achieved well more than the $50,000 cost savings. We had this conversation
Yeah,
a
no,
while ago.
absolutely. There was some debate whether or not that would be an acceptable program, simply because the East of Hudson Corporation started before 2012. So I just wanted to bring the board up to speed on what the next phase of the tax cap program is, and that's that we have to do this for 3 years in a row. So now that everybody is well aware of that, we'll continue to work on that and update the board as progress goes forward. At this point, Sean, you want to run do your stuff?
Sure. The first item I have is we have a second request from the Maple Avenue Cemetery Association, and in essence, they've asked the town for the second time for additional reimbursement for the maintenance of the cemetery for cutting the grass. And there is some question about what the town's responsibility is in this case. They've asked for an increase of $800 to a total of $3,750 would be the total that they're requesting. We've already granted them $2,950 through the budget process. In speaking with the supervisor, it's recommended that at this time we only offer an additional $300 to offset some of their costs, because there is some discussion and some investigation into what the actual town's responsibility would be. So I think moving forward for next year, we'll have a better idea of what the square footage is that the town's responsible for maintaining, and we can address it at that time during budget process, which I think is the appropriate time to do this sort of thing. So at this time, I'll move that upon Mike's recommendation that we increase and offer $300 additional to the Maple Avenue Cemetery Association to offset or defer their costs for maintenance of the cemetery grounds within the town of Patterson. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we move on, what is it we have to do to resolve that issue? Is it just going through the assessor's office? I mean, what's the
Well,
thing
there's-
that's tying it up?
The assessor's office, basically, there's we're talking about deeds that go back as far as the 1800s. All of the lines on most of the maps we have are dotted lines, which means nobody's really quite sure what that means. So I spoke to the historian for the Episcopal Church in New York City, and his position was, well, according to the Episcopal locals up here, the town owns the Episcopal Cemetery, and that all we own is the church and the acre and half it sits on. There's some confusion as to what the Presbyterians are claiming as is their cemetery, what isn't their cemetery, and they're actually haven't been doing maintenance. Either one of them have been doing maintenance on their cemeteries for about 50 years, as best as Mr. Hazard can remember. And basically, this thing was started, I guess, back in the 70s or maybe 80s, when I think it was probably 70s, when neither of those cemeteries were being maintained, and the town approached Maple Avenue Cemetery, which was still an active association, and asked if they would take the responsibility. They said they would, but they were going to need some financial help. So it's kind of gone on
Going
like
on
that.
from that.
But now that we're starting to get into some
Bigger
serious
dollars.
budget requests and whatnot, we started looking at trying to determine exactly what portions might be abandoned, what portions might be still belonging to the churches, and it seems very convoluted as to who owns what out there. So Ron Taylor, our town historian, is looking, head president of the Historical Society, has been researching documents back into the 1800s. I know Donna has pulled records from archives that have different maps and deeds and some other things in there that are very, very old documents. So hopefully in a couple of months we'll know exactly who owns what, who's responsible for
Not to muddy the water, but do we have any obligation then for the cemetery that they've been trying to restore? I don't know if that's a cemetery or burial ground that Ron's trying to restore.
Yes.
So that potentially could fall to us too?
Yes, the only only thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor, is if it's considered a strictly family cemetery.
That's right.
Any other
Burial
quote-unquote
grounds.
abandoned cemetery in the town of Patterson becomes the town's responsibility to maintain. So, Crossroads, yes, if they
Okay.
were to ask for a budget, we would be obligated to give them some
Gotcha.
money for a budget.
Sure glad I brought that up.
I'll send Ron to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. And the next item I have relates to the Good Samaritan legislation that was passed in December of 2014 by Governor Cuomo. It basically will provide coverage for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers when they volunteer at an out-of-district accident scene before an officer in charge accepts the services. So in other words, before incident command is set up by the local jurisdiction, one of our local volunteer firefighters or ambulance corps members stops at the scene of an accident, say in town of Carmel, and they assist, they will be covered. But what the legislation requires is that the local municipality adopt a resolution accepting this legislation. So I do have a resolution prepared that acknowledges the Governor Cuomo's law passed December 17th of 14, which signed the law amends to general municipal law and allows volunteer ambulance workers benefits to provide coverage for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers when they volunteer at out-of-district accident scenes before an officer in charge accepts their services. So I will enter this resolution into the record as if it were read into it in its entirety. So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
Would you like this a pile of announcements? You want to wait for the end since we have so many people here, or do you want to?
All right, yeah,
run
that's
through them?
fine.
Whatever you'd like.
No, we can wait till
Okay.
the end, and we'll let Antoinette sort it all out. Minutes versus agenda. First item on my agenda is a LoSAP Length of Service Awards Program. This has to do with a recruitment and retention program that the town instituted with the assistance of the fire departments back, I believe, in 1997 or 8. And what it does is it allows for the town to provide a benefit to the fire department members upon reaching a retirement age. One of the problems with the program, however, is that the plan capped service at age 65, but because our plan has only been around for about, I think 18 or 19 years now, there were members that passed the age of 65 and were told they could no longer participate. They continue to participate, they continue to get points. However, they were not eligible under the way our plan was written. There was a lawsuit filed in Long Island that said it's discriminatory, that you cannot do that. So we've had some discussions with the fire department how to remedy that, and at this point in time, there are, to my knowledge, only two ways to remedy it. One is to do it through a court order, and the other is to do it through referendum. So at this point, I'm going to move a resolution for a referendum on the amendment of the LoSAP, which would resolve the potential for an EEOC claim against the town of Patterson. So I'm not going to bother to read this whole entire resolution, but basically what it says is that on election day, which I believe is November 3rd this year, 2nd, 3rd, the voters of the town of Patterson will be asked to go to the polls and vote on a referendum to amend the plan to permit members past the age of 65 that have not reached the full benefit, which is 20 years of service, that they will be allowed to continue to get their points and be eligible for full benefits, at which time they have 20 years. We have, I believe, 3 or 4 members from Putnam Lake and about 5 or 6 from Patterson. The total will be, I think it'll be in excess of $100,000 for the buybacks and then the additional monies that will be awarded on a monthly basis. We have spoken to VFIS, the plans administrator. They will allow us to pay it in $30,000 per year increments until we are caught up, which I think will take about 5 years, maybe a little more. But this is the, at this point, this is from the town standpoint, the most expeditious way to get this thing done. Mike, you have anything else you wish to offer on this?
Yeah, so we have the figures from VFIS. There's a little bit of a nuance because the state law doesn't allow us to amend the LoSAP program without the referendum, but we have this EEOC determination from the claim in Long Island that says that the age requirement is discriminatory. So what the town is likely to do, you guys haven't adopted a resolution yet, but I presume that you will be in short order, is you're actually likely to move forward with the commencement of the payments of the benefits prior to the adoption of the election, or prior to the results of the referendum. Again, it's a little new, there's some nuances there, but at the end of the day, what needs to happen is going to happen, which is really what the important part is. But the thing I've been trying to resolve, and it's kind of like a legal Rubik's Cube, is, well, you have an EEOC determination that says one thing is wrong, but then you have a state law that says the only way you can amend your plan is by referendum. What happens if the referendum doesn't pass? I don't see it as something that wouldn't pass, but in working with the fire department's council, we feel pretty confident about moving forward the way that we're moving forward.
It's by referendum or court order with the two? It's allowed, the amendment?
No, if the departments had commenced an action against the town in Supreme Court, which was the original discussion
Right.
that Dave Garwood and I had, Dave being the attorney for the fire departments, we believe we would have been able to move forward with, or at least it's my belief that we'd be able to move forward without the referendum at all, because we would have an order from the judge that says you don't have to comply with this particular provision of state law. We recognize the EEOC complaint. Without that component, we're left to do it this way. There's a little bit of exposure, but I don't think there's significant exposure. I'm comfortable enough to advise the board to go forward the way that we're doing it.
I'm just saying that the backup plan, if the referendum fails, is the only thing left is a court order.
Well,
Or for them to file a suit and to get a court order.
From my discussions with the state, if it's a very odd thing.
It's not that black and white.
No, I'm still struggling with it because my understanding from the state is that if the referendum fails, even though we haven't complied with state law in that you need the referendum to pass, we've essentially taken the steps that we've needed to in order to show compliance. So if you were auditing this at the state, again, it's odd, but if you were auditing it, you'd be looking at the EEOC determination, you'd be looking at the referendum, and you'd say, all right, the town did everything it could do to comply with the EEOC, and therefore we're not going to ding you guys in an audit. And
Okay.
that's really what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah, the other part of this too is at this time, if we're going to do it as a referendum, the town can review the plan top to bottom. We can consider the changing of the benefit. We can consider changing the point structure. There's a number of things that the town could look at the town board could look at if they wanted to. Whereas if it was done the other way, this would be,
Very
the
narrow issue.
EEOC would be the only point of discussion.
Right.
So if any of you guys want to take a long, hard look at the LoSAP program and make any recommendations, it's an opportunity
Okay.
that could be taken right now. Otherwise, if we decide to just leave it as is, there is administrative change that I'm going to propose to the board, which has to do with the life insurance, how the life insurance policy is done. Right now, we do it on an individual basis, which means that every single member has to fill out a form. There are a number of active members in the fire department that have not done that, so they don't have that life insurance benefit. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a life insurance pool. It will save us some money, and it will also automatically enroll every active member into the plan. So there won't be another set of individual forms that each member has to fill out. So it's sort of a win-win.
We have a question on that.
Matt? Yeah. Well, there's discussion.
Matt Spindler, I'm the fire chief of the Patterson Fire Department. I just want to clarify because I had a discussion with our attorney again today about the LoSAP issue, and my understanding after the conversation today was that he and you were working on a resolution for this issue, and it did not involve having to file suit in County Supreme Court. And he said that we could probably anticipate the start of those benefits for those senior members to occur sometime this year.
That's right.
And so I guess my question is, if that is the case, why are we still dragging this out further, and why are we still going to referendum for something that is already supposed to have been resolved? And my second question would be, does the federal EEOC trump state law in terms of we cannot have a state law violating a federal EEOC mandate that AIDS discrimination cannot occur with these members?
To the first question, yes, that helps.
What was the first question?
Well, I was told as recently as yesterday in a meeting with the supervisor that basically the only two options that the fire department had to resolve this situation were to wait until the referendum was brought before the town to see if it passed, or to file suit in county Supreme Court. That was what I was told yesterday. Now, our attorney is telling us today that in conversations that he's had with you very recently, that there is no need for an expensive litigation process through the county, that you guys had already found a way to resolve this correctly and get it done expeditiously.
We did find a way, and that's by
Referendum.
No. Look, let me explain. So when Dave and I had originally looked at this particular issue, we disagreed as to what the right way to do it. I had reached out to the Association of Fire Districts to see what their advice was in dealing with the amendment of LoSAP. I just want to make sure that I categorize this correctly. Okay, we have two separate issues that we're dealing with. The first issue is the impact of the EEOC determination on members to determine that the use of the age 65 to cut people off from the plan was discriminatory. So there's a group of people that are out there that should have been acquiring benefits that have not because of that. And when I reached out to the Association of Fire Districts to say, how do we compensate those people retroactively? I don't see anything that gives us the authority to do that. It looks to me like we would have to do that through the referendum process. And the Association of Fire Districts came back to me and they said, as of right now, until the state legislature amends the way that you can change LoSAP, his advice to me was to recommend to the departments to commence an action in Supreme Court, which I had talked to Dave about pretty extensively. This was my belief at the time. It took, it was about 18 months of and I was still getting back up from the Association of Fire Districts that would be the way to do it. Basically, you guys would file a complaint. We would go to court and say, these guys are absolutely correct. We want to settle, and this is the way that we plan to settle. We want to pay back the members that were inappropriately cut off because of the age discrimination. And then we want to make an amendment to the plan via court order as opposed to via referendum that says we don't have to go to the residents and ask the municipality as a whole and have a vote to say, would you permit us to amend the plan to eliminate this discriminatory provision, so on and so forth, and make whatever amendments that might have been necessary. That would have been a very quick it wasn't going to be a contested litigation, and that's why, based on the advice of the Association of Fire Districts, I brought that to Dave and said, I think this is the best way to do it. I've looked at this, I'm trying to think of the attorney's name up at the Association of Fire Districts. But anyway, long story short,
Please.
yeah, I'm sorry. Dave had come back and said, no, look, I'm not interested in filing a suit. That's not the way that we need to do this. And it wasn't until, I would say, maybe a month ago that we had come to the conclusion, or at least I had changed my opinion as to the right way to do it. So Dave had said to me, we could use Town Law Section 68, that allows the town board to settle potential claims without litigation. So we looked at the legislative intent of that law, because again, at that time, I still thought you needed to bring a claim, because we have the authority to settle claims, but the question was, well, when is it a claim? Is it a claim when you bring a litigation, or is it a claim when you say there's something wrong? So Dave and I had looked at that, and we are on the same page as to his letter from December effectively establishes the claim, and for these retroactive benefits that are going to be paid for the members that have reached 65 and have been cut off. If there's been any confusion in the dissemination of information between you guys and the town board, I apologize. It was unintended. The course of action right now is to have the town board adopt a resolution to move forward to commence the funding of those retroactive benefits through LoSAP. So we have a payment plan that they've given us information as to the members that have not qualified. I asked Dave for that information. I ended up getting it from VFIS. And I'm not disparaging Dave, it was just who I ended up getting it from. I'm assuming that information is correct. I think Dave has a copy, because I believe I've asked them to vet it to make sure that we're not missing anybody on that list.
He did tell me today that you have the information, that
Yeah.
it was provided, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's reviewed it.
Okay, because you guys would have to bring him your point sheets to make sure that the...
Right.
I have that on file.
Okay, great. Because we only have what the department gives to the town for VFIS purposes. So when I get information from the insurance company, it's information that basically has been a pass-through. So once we know that that's correct, which we don't have a reason to think that it's not, then the board will move forward. It is my belief, and I still base this with the association with advice from the fire district associations.
Hearing any of this.
What's up?
Oh, no, we're just having a little sidebar because we're sort of drifting off in the
Sorry.
conversation here, so.
All right.
If you could just kind of bring it back to point, we'd.
No, I'm
So-
getting right to the point, which is that we still have to incorporate this plan amendment. The state law hasn't, the legislature in the state still hasn't done anything to recognize this federal ruling. So the advice to me was, hey guys, until that happens, play it safe, go forward with the referendum. Even if it goes down, you have done all the things you need to do. You don't have to worry about getting audited by the state, even if you amend the plan and the referendum goes down. So that's my advice to the board.
So just to clarify then, the referendum, the point of the referendum is from that date forward, everybody will be, the plan will be in compliance with
The
the
change
state
to
and
the
the
plan.
EOC.
That's right.
The resolution of the discrimination with the current members
Is through Town Law 68.
through town law, and we've been asked numerous times by our membership when this is going to be resolved. I believe this thing has been going on now for well over 2 years, and I think we've been more than patient.
4 years.
Well, look, you guys.
4 years.
If you guys.
We just wanted an answer tonight about when they can start to expect to be made whole with this resolution.
In all likelihood, it would commence this year.
Well, is this something we're going to see before the next town board meeting, or is this something?
Well, I don't want to muddy the waters anymore either, because I'm pretty much confused anyway, because this is the first I'm hearing this Section 68 thing. The problem I think we're going to run into is VFIS is not going to want to pay out on a letter. We have to modify the plan. Because they work off of what plan we have approved and in place. This is not part of the approved plan or in place. So without some sort of direction from a judge or somebody else, I don't know if they're gonna release the money.
I believe they will.
Have you talked to them about it?
Yeah, that's who I've been that's who I've been working with.
Okay, well, next time, why don't you keep us in the loop?
Look, I'm willing to fall on the sword, but I brought this up.
You never said anything about Section 68 or any of that stuff.
Okay.
This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Okay.
That we could do it through a different section of state law to get this paid and done. And maybe I haven't been paying attention, it's entirely possible. But I don't remember ever hearing at a town board meeting or any of the other discussions that there was another section of town law that could be used as opposed to going to court or going to referendum.
Well, let me ask this, can we get something in writing from VFIS that would allay any concerns we have that, I mean, if we go through and pass a resolution and then resent it and then we're denied funding, we're spinning our wheels.
No. VFIS does what we ask them to do. They're our provider. Okay? With this particular
Okay.
with this particular issue, right? Their recommendation, this is across the board, I remember doing this for other districts, was amend your LoSAP by referendum as soon as you can. But as far as paying back, they can do that because we're the administrator and we tell them what we want to do,
Well,
like any other pension plan.
then there's no reason we can't start the ball rolling tomorrow.
No, that's right. That's right.
Okay, all right, well then, I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna move the motion to, do the referendum. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
And,
what's the time frame for the resolution then for us?
Well,
next meeting, do we need to authorize this?
Yeah, we can-
And with a resolution at the next town board meeting?
I just need confirmation. We can move forward with the info we have. The only thing I need from Dave is to just make sure that the list that we have, that we're not missing anybody on that list.
Okay. So we'll try and have that from Dave to you by the end of the week.
Great.
And then at the next town board meeting, then we can have a schedule, pending approval of the town board's resolution, that when these payments are going to commence and when they will be completed.
I think we can, I need to talk to VFIS about scheduling, but I don't see why within the next 30 days.
It won't take long at all.
Yeah.
Once if VFIS is on board that we can do it just by a stroke of the pen, then it's not gonna take long at all, because once the resolution is prepared for and approved by this town board, and they authorize me as the plan administrator to go to VFIS and get these payments authorized, it'll be a matter of days. It's not gonna be a matter of weeks or months.
Well, can we get it in writing from VFIS, or am I just not, you don't think it's necessary?
Well,
No,
it's
we could
just-
add, we could certainly
I
ask them.
haven't, in all the conversations that I've had with VFIS, and it's just been with their representatives, never any of their legal staff, was that they follow the approved plan. And until the plan is amended, that's what they work off
Well,
of.
based on what
I've
you're
never-
saying and what you're saying, I think we should get it in writing before VFIS, before we promise you that we're gonna pass the
Mike
resolution.
and I are gonna have a conversation with VFIS tomorrow or Friday.
Okay.
So, we do a conference call, we'll sit down, and if we can either talk to Debbie, or we can talk to whoever you're dealing with in the legal department.
Yeah.
Let's just,
And,
let's just get something in writing.
As long as they say, yeah, whatever you tell us to do, we'll do, then fine.
All right.
And you're telling me it's legal to do it that way, then, you know what? You're the lawyer, and I'll take your word for it. So,
All right. The only other thing I wanted to just ask the board, I do not have the final year-end report that we provided to you guys a month or so ago. And I'm assuming my esteemed colleague here from Putnam Lake does not have his either from last year. But I would just remind the board that if you're going to take a look at possibly reducing the LoSAP benefit, last year was the busiest year that the Patterson Fire Department had, with close to 1,100 responses, and I don't remember exactly how many hundreds or thousands of man-hours in community events, training, etc. And they have an equal number of responses and training and man-hours invested. And again, when you look at the budget that the town spends for fire and EMS protection in the town right now, and you look at the small benefit that our membership receives in terms of LoSAP payments for providing over 20 years of service to the town, I think it's a relatively small investment for an incredibly large contribution that the membership makes to this town. And I would ask them to strongly reconsider reducing any payments, and if anything, they should be looking to increase them. All right, thank you.
It was, just so you should know, I mean, nobody's recommending or suggesting, I'm just, the possibility exists now that if it's gonna go out to referendum, modifications to the plan could be made. That was just one possible example. I'm not recommending it. Again, I don't think it's a huge amount of money. The total LoSAP plan, we had, I think you guys had about 50 members eligible last year. Putnam Lake had about 38. The total cost to the taxpayers was about $140,000. The plan's 18 years, 19 years into the process. We are at about 75 or 80% fully funded. So, I mean, there's no real serious burden to keep going with the plan as it is. You know, the plan was originally designed for recruitment and retention. You know, we've been having a lot of conversations about getting out of the ambulance business, the EMS business. So, you know, we have to 2% tax cap, save money, $50,000, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we have to start really turning over the rocks to find out where we can come up with some serious money to keep us in the 2% tax cap. State of New York told us that our medical insurance is going up 9% this coming year. We're paying almost 21 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the dollar for retirement contributions because New York State's pension fund has been somewhat mismanaged. So we have you know, the fiduciary responsibility of this board is getting harder and harder and harder. So, you know, used to be we'd look for $1,000 bills, now we're looking for $500 bills. Pretty soon we'll be down to looking for $50 bills. But, you know, the conversation at this point, if we can wrap this up, get, you know, Ed Sedefani, Pete Morelli, and Maycott and all of those guys squared away, I think that's great. And if the board wants to consider any changes, it's a possibility. Next item on my agenda has to do with D. Francesco deed restrictions. We had an offer of a piece of property in Putnam Lake that town planner Rich Williams had suggested may have some benefits for stormwater management. However, our crack legal staff came back and said, oh, by the way, you do know that there are a significant number of deed restrictions on this property. And one of them I had to go look up because I was not really sure what an abattoir was. I'm sure Ed O'Connor knows, but I don't. It's a slaughterhouse. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about a slaughterhouse, a smith shop, forges, furnaces, steam engines, brass foundries, nail foundries, or manufacture of gunpowder, glue, varnish, or vitriol, or turpentine, tanning, dressing properties, etc. So I don't think any of those deed restrictions are going to be a real problem for us to manage, since stormwater doesn't really seem to fall into any of those categories. So at this time, I'm going to move the resolution authorizing acceptance of the donation of real property with deed restrictions. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item on my agenda is I have sent, because of the issue with EMS and you know, fire departments, budgets, etc., it had been suggested that we might want to possibly engage the services of a consultant who could give us some direction on how to structure EMS services, whether it be through just straight contract with a company like TransCare, or whether it be through a volunteer ambulance corps or some combination thereof. So I contacted PSSI Consulting. Mr. Adams has sent us a proposal. I intend to share this with both of the chiefs, and I have your email, so I'll send this out to you tomorrow. I would like for everybody to take a look at it, comment on whether they see any value to this or not. that $28,000 is the amount of money we really want to spend, but I think if it can give us some clear direction on how to handle emergency services for the town for the coming years and how to, evaluate what we're doing, there may be some value there. There may not.
This is just independent consultant then?
Yes,
Oh,
I just want everybody to take the time to read it.
Okay.
Look it over. There's a scope of services in there. There's a budget. There's a whole laundry list of places that they've worked. They've done extensive work in New York State and other areas in Connecticut, et cetera. So I will make sure you guys get it. You can circulate it to your members. I'd ask the town board, town attorney, everybody to take a look at it and please comment and see if you see any value to what these guys are proposing. And if so, we can consider going forward. I've talked to Trish. There is some places we can get the money from. If not, then all I've wasted is a little town station. So, at that point, I have 2 items that I would like to add to my agenda. One has to do with the planning board and zoning board request for compensation, and the other one has to do with